Alright, this is Transitional Algebra 5.5, 5.7, solving fractional equations. So my first equation is 1 over 5 plus 8 over 27 equals x over 45. So the first thing you want to do is find the least common denominator. So I'm going to show you how to do that on the calculator. Now, I know that anything that 45 is going to go into, the 5 will also go into. So I'm going to find the least common denominator between the bigger numbers, 27 and 45. So to do that, you would hit Math, arrow over until number's highlighted, and then scroll down to number 8. Number 8 is the LCM, which is the least common denominator in our case. So we would hit Enter. Now we would put 27, hit the comma, and then put in 45, and then hit Enter. So my least common denominator is going to be 135. So what we do now is we multiply all three parts of the equation by 135. So 135 times the 1 over 5 plus 135 times the 8 over 27 will equal to 135 times the x over 45. You got to do it to every part because remember, multiplication distributes over addition and subtraction. Alright, so let's see what we get. 135 times 1 is 135. Divided by the 5 on bottom gives me 27. So all I did was multiply straight across and then divided. And then we got plus, so I'm going to do the same thing. 135 times 8 equals 1080. Divided by the 27 gives me 40. That's going to equal the other side, which is 135 times x, which is 135x. And then 135 divided by 45 gives me 3. So that's going to give me 3x. Alright, so we're going to solve for x. So on this side, we're going to add like terms. 27 and 40 gives me 67 equal to 3x. And then to get that to be a 1x, I divide both sides by 3. So that cancels, giving me my 1x. So I got my 1x is going to equal 67 divided by 3. So it don't divide equally, but let's see if that reduces. So I got 67 divided by 3. That's going to equal a decimal. Now I want to see if that decimal turns into a reduced fraction or if it gives me the same answer. So to turn the decimal into a fraction, I hit Math. Fraction is highlighted, so hit Enter twice. And it gives me 67 over 3, which means that the fraction does not reduce, and that's my final answer. Alright, y'all, number 2, I got x over 4 minus x over 5 is going to equal 13. So if you wanted 13 to look like a fraction, we can always put a 1 under it. So we're going to find the least common denominator between 4, 5, and 1. So I'm really not worried about the 1, so we want to find the least common denominator between 4 and 5. So remember, you can hit Math, arrow over the number, go down to number 8, hit Enter, and then we're going to find the least common denominator between the 4, 5, hit Enter, and we get 20. So now multiply all three parts by 20. So 20 times our x over 4 minus 20 times x over 5 will equal 20 times the 13 over 1. Alright, so 20 times x is 20x, divided by 4 gives me 5x, minus 20 times x is 20x, divided by 5 gives me 4x. And then on the right side, 20 times 13 is going to give me 260 divided by 1, which is 260. Alright, so we want to solve this for x, and all we got to do, if you notice, is add the like terms on the left side. So a 5x and a negative 4x gives me 1x equal to my 260. Alright, number 3, I got z plus 7 over z is going to equal negative 8. Alright, so I'm going to put a 1 under the z and a 1 under the negative 8. So I want a least common denominator on this one. And look, the only thing in the bottom of any of the fractions that I'm worried about is the z. So we're going to multiply everybody by z. So z times z over 1 plus z times 7 over z will equal z times negative 8 over 1. Alright, let's see what happens. Z times z is z squared divided by 1, which gives me a z squared, plus in the middle, z times 7 is 7z, but that z dividing by that z cancels, so all that's left is my 7. Over here, z times negative 8 is a negative 8z divided by 1, which gives me a negative 8z. So look, since we got the x squared term, what we want to do is get a 0 where the negative 8z is and then solve it by factoring. So to get a 0 here, since that's negative 8z, we're going to come in and add a positive 8z to both sides. Now put the z in the middle sort of, because z will not add to a z squared and then a z cannot add to a number. So let's just put it in order like we need it. We need the z squared first, plus we need the 8z next, plus we need the 7. All that's now equal to 0. Alright, so remember, we're going to solve this now by factoring. So we're going to set up our parentheses. Z squared means we got a z and a z. The last sign's positive, so both of these will be positive like the middle number. And then you only got one set of factors of 7, which is 1 and 7. So here we go, 1 and 7. They add to get 8, like I needed. Now, remember, since I have a z squared right there, I need 2 answers, which means I got to set both of these equations equal to 0. So the first one, minus 7 from both sides, and you get z equals a negative 7. Second equation, subtract 1 from both sides, and you get z is a negative 1. So my answers would be negative 7 and negative 1. Alright, let's see if we can squeeze number 4 in here. 6 over y plus 2 over y is going to equal 4. Alright, so under the 4, I'm going to put me a 1 again. So the least common denominator on this problem, the only thing in the bottom that really bugs us is the y. So the least common denominator would be 1y, because that's all I have in any of my denominators. Now multiply everybody by y. So y times 6 over y plus y times 2 over y equals y times my 4 over 1. Alright, we'll look on the first fraction. Those y's cancel, so I get 6 plus the second fraction, the y's cancel, and I'm left with a 2. And look over here, y times 4 is 4y divided by 1, so that's going to stay 4y. Alright, so to solve this for the y, we would add like terms on the left side. 6 plus 2 would give me 8 equal to 4y. And then, since the y is being multiplied by 4, we divide by 4 on both sides. So notice the 4 divided by 4 makes that a 1y. 8 divided by 4 gives me 2. Alright, let's see what's next. Let me get everything turned. Get to number 5 here. Alright, let's see, number 5. I have y minus 9 over y plus 3. That's going to equal 2 over 3. Now, anytime you got a fraction equal to a fraction, I'm going to do what we call cross multiplying. That's when you got something like this. A over B equals C over D. To get rid of the fractions, you take the top of the fraction times the bottom of the other fraction, so that would be A times D. That's going to equal the first fraction's bottom times the other fraction's top, which will be b times c. I'm going to follow the same pattern on this. Now notice, since you got two things up here, y minus 9 both have to multiply by the 3, so that's going to give us a 3 times a y minus 9. The other side, you got to take this bottom, which is a y plus 3. All of that has to multiply by the 2, so that's going to be 2 times y plus 3. Alright, so now watch this. To get rid of the parentheses, you would distribute the 3. So you get 3 times y is 3y minus 3 times 9 is 27. That's going to equal the right side where we distribute the 2 through the parentheses. 2 times y is 2y plus 2 times 3 is 6. Now, to solve this for the y, since this y is smaller than that 3y, I'm going to subtract 2y from both sides. So 3 minus 2 leaves me y minus 27 equals, those y's cancel, so all I got left is my 6. And then the final move, add 27 to both sides. So I end up with a y equals 27 plus 6 is 33. Alright, y'all, let's see what we got for number 6. Number 6 is a z plus 6 over z. That's going to equal 5 over 4. Alright, so notice once again I got one fraction equal to another fraction, so I'm going to cross multiply that again. So this z plus 6 both multiply by the 4, so that's 4 times z plus 6. That's going to equal the other side, which is just a z times 5, which could be a 5z. Alright, so what we got to do is just distribute through the parentheses. 4 times z is 4z plus 4 times 6 is 24. That's equal to the right side, which is still a 5z. Alright, so what I'm going to do, since the z is on the right side by itself, and the left side has a z and a number, I'm going to move this z to this side. That way the z's are on one side and the numbers on this side by itself. So to do that, since 4z is positive, we're going to subtract 4z from both sides. So those z's cancel, bring down to 24. And y'all look at this. 5z minus 4z leaves me 1z, and that problem is done. Alright, so let's see. I'm going to get that number 7. I'm going to start it right here because it might take a little bit of room. I got 1/3 minus 3 over 25z equals 8 over 25 minus 1 over 15z. Alright, so worst I'm going to do, first thing, I'm going to find me a least common denominator. So now notice, I need a z down here because I got a z in some of my denominators. So what I'm going to do now is find what number I need. So it looks like anything that 15 goes into, I know that 3 will go into. So I'm just going to find the least common denominator. Remember, hit math, arrow over the number, go to number 8, hit enter. Between 15 and 25. So let's do 15 comma 25, and we get least common denominator is 75. And remember, I need a z because some of my fractions had a z there. So multiply all 4 of these by 75z. Well, it takes a lot of writing with these long fractions. Alright, so 75z times 1 is 75z, divided by 3 is 25z, minus 75 times 3 gives me 225z, divided by 25z. So if you notice, that z and that z is going to cancel, so that all that's left is 9. Alright, that's going to equal the right side, which is 75 times 8. And he's got a z there. So that 600z divided by 25 gives me 24z minus, and if you notice the last one, that z is going to cancel with that z, so all we got to really find is what is 75 times 1, which is 75, divided by 15, and 75 divided by 15 gives me 5. So notice, if it had a fraction in its denominator, those canceled with the LCD, and the ones that didn't have the variable ended up with a variable. Alright, so what I'm going to do is get the z's over here and the numbers over there. So I'm going to start out by subtracting the 24z from both sides. That'll give me a z minus 9 equals, the z's cancel, so bring down the negative 5. And then, to get the z by itself, add 9. So that z comes down, that cancels. Negative 5 plus 9 gives me 4. So final answer, z equals 4. Alrighty, so I'm going to pause it right there. So good luck on those 7. And I will be making a part 2 to finish this out.